Hey everybody, Mark Horner, Beyond 90 Seconds. It is a Friday evening, November 22nd, and we're looking at a time of about, let's nail it down here, 9:32 p.m., coming to you live from the Beyond 90 Second studio. Hope you had a great week and that a good weekend and a safe weekend is in store for you. This week here in Washington State, there's been a lot of focus on the so-called bomb cyclone. Now, I have to tell you, bomb cyclone, I wasn't even going to use that term until I was told by the meteorologists on television that it is a legitimate term. It is a bit surprising because I grew up here in Washington State, spent 20 years away, came back, been here a number of years since I returned, and I had never heard of bomb cyclone. And you know what? Back in my TV days of 20 years, occasionally I had to fill in and do weather, and I still don't remember bomb cyclone. High pressure fronts, high pressure ridges, other terms, but not bomb cyclone, but it's legit. So, and it certainly meets the definition that's been provided officially to include the National Weather Service's use of it. So I'm using that term. And yesterday, the day before, we've had some coverage here of what happened here in Washington State, as well as some footage from Vancouver Island, where my friend Janine Sadola shot some video of some of the storm damage in Nanaimo on the southern end of the island there. So today, what I'm bringing to the table, I know I'm not outside live or anything. There's nothing currently dramatically unfolding. But there has been a story from where I live, Snohomish, Washington, which is about 30 minutes north of Seattle, that's been in the news to include some Seattle television coverage that I went to check out during the midday today and took my camera, my video camera, and my still camera. And it's about a historic home where a tree, a very, very large tree, came crashing down on the top of that two-story home with people inside on the second floor, as I understand it. So what I'd like to do is begin by bringing up that video. So let's do that, and we'll play it here. Here we go. This is midday today in Snohomish, Washington. And you can see this is a very large roof structure. Now, if I recall the media reports of a day or two ago in the Seattle media, this tree was up there in that roof, and you can see the damage. Did I talk to the folks who live there? No, they did not appear to be home while I was there for most of that time. I think they may have arrived as I was leaving. But there was that neighbor you saw raking there, and she agreed that I could use that shot of her raking, and she agreed that I could share with you with what unfolded from her point of view as the neighbor on the night of the storm when the tree came down, and I'd like to share that with you, and I have her permission to do so. Yeah, the Burton House, built in 1892, a historic home. She told me, the neighbor, that she and her husband had just arrived the night of the storm as the storm was basically settling into the area, or shortly beforehand, from Germany. They had been traveling, flying mostly, of course, for 30 hours, and they just got in. I guess it would have been the night of the 19th, if my dates are correct, and they crashed. They went to sleep. And when the tree came down in total darkness, according to the neighbor, she and her husband slept through it, but they didn't sleep the entire night through because there was this as she told me, this constant knocking of the front door. And when she opened the front door, or she or her husband, it was quite a scene. She said it was like a movie. It was black outside because all the power was suddenly out. And her neighbor, the one who owns the home, along with his wife, who lives next door where the tree came crashing down, is standing there with a flashlight pointed up at his face. And all these winds are swirling, and all these small branches, twigs, things are just swirling about. And so they're coming out of this fog of all this travel and getting sleep. And they're trying to make sense of everything. And she told me we didn't even know the scope of what had happened because it was really hard to see anything. And she said the reason the neighbor was insistently knocking on the door, almost if not actually starting with an apology, sorry to wake you up, was because He was concerned that the tree that came down on his home might have also caused damage and possibly injury to these neighbors, this woman and her husband who lived next door. So the relief was they were fine. But according to the woman I spoke to, the next door neighbor who, along with her husband, had just returned from 30 hours returning from Germany, they say that when they actually went back to sleep, and they were surprised that they could do that given the commotion that had apparently just unfolded. But when they got up with the new day, with the light of a new day, and they could see the devastation, it was incredibly sad. She said that, according to her, the neighbors who she apparently knows well, who owned the home that the tree fell upon, she said that they were upstairs on that second floor, but not in the bathroom. And the bathroom is where the tree came crashing from the roof and right into the house. So the good news is they weren't in the bathroom. Both were uninjured, according to the neighbor, and that's, I think, been supported by the news reports. Now, look at the size of that massive trunk. Now, this tree, and I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what tree it is, what type, but there are several that appear to be the same type up and down that street. And you can see one just on the other side of the root structure there. And when you see the streets, the street shot, it's the 400 block of Avenue B. You'll see several large trees like this. You can see it just beyond there, similar trees. And there are several historic homes. This is the thing about Snohomish. It's like a lot of towns in Washington State. You know, I think of Olympia, I think of Bellingham. You see these beautiful historic homes from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they oftentimes have a Victorian theme as well. So across the street, a couple of houses south, if you will, along the curb here, several branches have been collected, I'm sure from not just the tree that fell down, but more likely just a variety of trees in this general area, people raking, tidying up, just trying to respond and get back to life as normal, as many people throughout the area, including parts of Snohomish, have also been waiting for power. The neighbor told me that it's her understanding that the people will remain in the home once it's been repaired, the historic home, and that the aim is to stay there. I don't have that officially. Now, she told me that the homeowners would probably not want to do an interview with me because they had turned down a Seattle TV station, according to her, the afternoon or evening prior, yesterday on Thursday, after having initially given some media interviews, according to this neighbor, immediately after the event. So that is the video from that. So let me pop out of that real quick. And we'll come back to a full camera shot here. And so the neighbor, I mean, if you could have seen her, and the fact of the matter is I was set up with my camera on a tripod, my video camera, and I was on the sidewalk, and she was just above me on elevated ground raking, and the house was behind her, kind of at an angle, her neighbor's home with that roof. And she had been raking, and she had her hat on, and she told a very compelling story. She would have been an excellent on-camera interview, but I certainly respect her reluctant decision not to do anything on camera, because she said she wanted to do that out of respect to her neighbors who had stopped doing interviews themselves. So I mentioned that I may have seen them as I was leaving. Indeed, as I was packing my tripod and my camera gear, an older couple, and she had described them as an older couple, arrived on site, and they appeared to be the homeowners and interacted her with even just across the street from me. But I was going to leave them alone, and I departed. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was pretty dramatic. On some of those shots, you could see on the left side, as you're looking at the house, if you bring your attention curbside to the root structure, the way the neighbor described it to me, on the left, you could see the water line. And to the right of the root structure, you may have noticed a pipe, and she told me that was the gas pipe, is how she put it, and that it continued under the grass along the curb right in front of her house as well. So the good news is, here anyway, nobody was injured. I remarked to the neighbor when she told me that the tree came down right into the bathroom, that there was unfortunately a similar story not far from here, just south of here in Washington State, where a woman was killed. She and her husband were home, and it's been well covered in the local and I think even national media. Unfortunately, the woman was in the shower in the bathroom. The tree came in, and the woman, unfortunately, was killed in that incident. There was also another woman killed in the Alderwood area, who I believe was in a homeless situation or encampment, according to media reports that I believe I saw. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you. Now, yesterday, I did post some video from Nanaimo, as I mentioned, British Columbia, south end of Vancouver Island, shot by my friend Janine Sadola. And in Nanaimo, you saw yards with trees tipped over. I think this, in Snohomish, these trees, well, the root structure looked even larger, at least as large, if not larger, here. And the devastation to the home was more severe here in this incident compared to what we saw in Janine's footage yesterday. But it was dramatic footage from Nanaimo yesterday too, and so many branches on the ground and trees down. And in fact, in one of Janine's shots, you saw a tree, a thin tree, across hovering horizontally from left to right over a road with traffic passing underneath it. How could that happen? Because it was suspended on power lines or telephone lines, what have you, on poles on each side of the roadway. That was bizarre. And then Janine also got some footage. If you saw the video yesterday, if you missed it, please check it out on just the most recent video on this channel prior to this one, where she was right down at the water's edge, went down some steps, and it was like you were on the front doorstep of the storm as it came in the aftermath anyway. The waves were still moving along. But today she went out again, and I want to tell you where Janine went. And so we're going to switch gears now, going from Washington State to British Columbia. And she was in Lanceville, which is just north of Nanaimo. And what she got, there's actually kind of a very beautiful scene here. And I want to bring that up. Let's find my clicker here so I can bring it up on my Apple TV, and we'll show it to you here. But before we see the beautiful scene, she, in Lanceville, did pass. There was a moment where she came across another tree on a house, not as severe as what we saw here. And we'll just begin with some photographs of that. So this is what Janine saw in Lanceville. Today is a smaller tree, but this is what is so common. Well, it's a small tree unless you live there, right? It's plenty big. It's enough to be a big problem. But let me bring the volume down a little bit. This is that beautiful scene that she captured from Lanceville today. And again, this is British Columbia. And she writes to me that this is Wallace Point, Nanoose Harbor, although the locals often call it Nanoose Bay. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Strait of Georgia. And beautiful scene there with the dramatic clouds and the rainbow, the beach, all the aftermath. Yes, there is another system coming through, but nothing like what we just experienced. Look at that, these islands out there, absolutely beautiful. My thanks once again to Janine for bringing us these beautiful scenes, in this case anyway, from British Columbia. Much appreciated. So that is, in fact, what I had to share with you in this live stream. Looking for any comments. I don't see anything in the chat at the moment, but I hope you enjoyed this. Perhaps you're catching the replay. Appreciate you doing so. If you like this type of content, please do like and subscribe. We'll do more live coverage, both from here in the studio as well as out and about as we go. And what we do often on this channel, or I do, is there'll be some news, but oftentimes there are going to be some nature shoots involving this time of year. It's trumpeter swans and it's snow geese and the beautiful scenery landscapes that we have here in Washington State. But there will be times when we do some news as well. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care, everybody. So long.